The afternoon sun filtered through the tall windows of Kensington Palace as Kate walked through the private study, organizing papers for an upcoming charity event. William had been unusually distant lately, spending more time than usual at official engagements and returning home later each evening. She tried not to think much of it, knowing the pressures of royal life often demanded unpredictable schedules. As she reached for a folder on the mahogany desk, her hand accidentally knocked over a stack of documents. Papers scattered across the floor, and she knelt to gather them. That's when she noticed something unusual. A manila envelope had slipped out from beneath the desk blotter, partially hidden where it had apparently been tucked away. Kate paused, her fingers hovering over the envelope. It wasn't like William to hide things. Their relationship had always been built on trust and openness, even through the intense scrutiny of public life. The envelope felt heavy in her hands, and she noticed it was unsealed. She glanced toward the door, listening for footsteps in the hallway. The palace staff were busy with afternoon duties, and William wasn't expected back for hours. Her heart began to beat faster as curiosity overtook her initial hesitation. Whatever was inside had been deliberately concealed. Slowly, she opened the envelope and pulled out its contents. Her breath caught in her throat. Photographs. Multiple photographs that made her hands tremble slightly as she examined them. The images showed William at various locations she didn't recognize, taken from what appeared to be a distance. But it wasn't just William in the photos. In each image, he was with the same woman, someone Kate had never seen before. The woman was elegantly dressed, clearly comfortable in William's presence. They were photographed entering buildings together, sitting at outdoor cafes, walking through what looked like private gardens. The timestamps on the photos spanned several weeks. Kate's mind raced as she studied each photograph more carefully. The woman appeared to be in her early 30s, with auburn hair and a confident demeanor. In one photo, William's hand rested on her back as they entered a building. In another, they were laughing together over coffee, their heads close in conversation. She felt her legs weaken and sat down heavily in the leather chair. These weren't official engagements. She would have known about those. The casual nature of their interactions, the informal settings, the apparent secrecy of it all sent a chill through her body. Kate had always prided herself on her ability to handle the pressures of royal life with grace. She had weathered media storms, protocol disasters, and family tensions. But this was different. This struck at the very foundation of everything she thought she knew about her marriage. Her phone buzzed on the desk, startling her. A text from William, running late. Don't wait for dinner. Important meeting came up. She stared at the message, then back at the photograph spread before her. How many important meetings had actually been rendezvous with this mystery woman? How long had this been going on? And, perhaps most troubling, why had William kept these photographs hidden in their own home? Kate carefully returned the photos to the envelope, her movements mechanical as her mind struggled to process what she had discovered. She needed time to think, to decide how to handle this. Part of her wanted to confront William immediately to demand answers. But another part, the part trained in royal discretion, urged caution. She placed the envelope back where she found it, making sure everything looked undisturbed. Then, she left the study, closing the door quietly behind her. As she walked through the palace corridors, past portraits of previous royals who had faced their own scandals and secrets, she felt the weight of her discovery pressing down on her. That evening, she went through the motions of her normal routine. She smiled at the staff, played with the children, reviewed her schedule for the next day. But her mind kept returning to those photographs and the woman in them. Who was she? What was her connection to William? And why did he feel the need to hide evidence of their meetings? As night fell over the palace, Kate lay in bed alone, William still not home from his meeting. She stared at the ceiling, knowing that tomorrow she would have to make a decision that could change everything. The fairy tale life she had built with William suddenly felt fragile, like a house of cards waiting for the slightest breath to bring it tumbling down. The clock on the bedside table ticked past midnight. Still no William. Kate closed her eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. All she could see were those photographs, each one raising more questions than the last. Whatever the truth was, she knew she couldn't ignore what she had found. The secret was out, even if William didn't know it yet. In the darkness of their bedroom, Kate made a decision. Tomorrow, she would find out exactly who this woman was and what she meant to William. The answers might destroy everything she held dear, but living with the uncertainty and deception was not an option. She had always been strong, and she would be strong now, whatever the truth might bring. The next morning arrived with gray skies over London, matching Kate's mood perfectly. She had barely slept, and when William finally came home around 2 a.m., she pretended to be asleep. He had slipped into bed quietly, and she could smell a perfume on him that wasn't hers. It took every ounce of self-control not to turn and confront him right then. At breakfast, William seemed distracted, checking his phone repeatedly. Kate watched him over her teacup, searching his face for any sign of guilt or deception. But he appeared as he always did, composed, dignified, every inch the future king. When their eyes met, he smiled at her, the same warm smile that had won her heart years ago. It made her stomach turn. "You were late last night," she said, keeping her voice neutral. "Yes, sorry about that. The meeting ran longer than expected. You know how these diplomatic sessions can be." He buttered his toast without looking up. "Which diplomat were you meeting?" The question came out sharper than she intended. William paused, his knife hovering over the toast. "The Swedish delegation, discussing the upcoming state visit." His answer came smoothly, but Kate noticed the slight tension in his jaw. She nodded, filing away the lie. She had already checked with his private secretary that morning. There was no Swedish delegation in London. After William left for his morning appointments, Kate put her plan into action. She couldn't investigate this alone without raising suspicions, but she had one person she could trust absolutely: her sister Pippa. Within an hour, Pippa arrived at a discreet side entrance to the palace. "Kate, you look terrible," Pippa said immediately upon seeing her sister. "What's happened?" Kate led her to a private sitting room, one without security cameras, and showed her the photographs. She watched Pippa's expression change from confusion to shock to anger. "Who is she?" Pippa asked, studying the images closely. "That's what I need to find out. Look at this one." Kate pointed to a photograph where a building's address was partially visible. "I think I can make out the street name." Together, they used Pippa's laptop to research the location. It led them to an exclusive private members club in Mayfair. More searching revealed that the club often hosted diplomatic gatherings and cultural events, the perfect cover for secret meetings. "I have a friend who's a member there," Pippa said. "She might be able to help us identify this woman." While Pippa made discreet inquiries, Kate attended a charity luncheon, smiling and charming donors while her mind was elsewhere. Every laugh felt forced, every handshake mechanical. She kept checking her phone, waiting for news from Pippa. The breakthrough came that afternoon. Pippa's friend had recognized the woman in the photographs. Dr. Sarah Henley, a respected art historian who had been consulting for the royal collection. She was brilliant, accomplished, and recently divorced. Kate felt the pieces falling into place. William's increased interest in the family's art holdings, his sudden enthusiasm for attending gallery openings, the late-night cultural committee meetings, it all made terrible sense now. That evening, she decided to test William. At dinner, she casually mentioned, "I was thinking we should have the art collection reevaluated. Perhaps bring in an outside expert." William's fork paused midway to his mouth. "Actually, we've already engaged someone for that. Dr. Sarah Henley. She comes highly recommended." "Oh, I don't recall discussing this." Kate kept her tone light, but her heart was pounding. "It must have slipped my mind. She's been conducting preliminary assessments. Very thorough work." He took a sip of wine, avoiding her eyes. "I'd like to meet her. Perhaps we could have her over for tea. She's quite busy. I wouldn't want to impose on her schedule." The response came too quickly. Kate excused herself early, claiming a headache. In their bedroom, she pulled out the photographs again, studying them with new knowledge. Dr. Sarah Henley. Now, she had a name to go with the face that had been haunting her thoughts. She opened her laptop and researched everything she could find about the woman. Oxford-educated, published author, specialist in Renaissance paintings. Recently divorced from a prominent banker. No children. The perfect intellectual companion for a prince interested in art and culture. As she read, Kate couldn't help but compare herself to this woman. Where Kate was traditional and focused on family, Sarah was cosmopolitan and career-driven. Where Kate carefully managed her public image, Sarah seemed refreshingly uninterested in media attention. They were opposites in almost every way. The sound of footsteps in the hallway made her quickly close the laptop. William entered, looking concerned. "How's your headache?" "Better," she lied. He sat on the edge of the bed, reaching for her hand. "Kate, is everything all right? You seem distant lately." The irony of his words almost made her laugh. She looked at him, this man she had loved for so long, father of her children, her partner in everything. She searched his face for the William she thought she knew. "Just tired," she said finally. "It's been a busy week." He squeezed her hand. "I know I've been preoccupied lately. This art project has taken up more time than I expected. But it's important work, preserving our heritage for future generations." Kate noticed how easily the lies came to him now, how naturally he wove truth with deception. She wondered how long he had been practicing this performance. "Of course," she replied. "Your work is always important." William leaned over to kiss her forehead, and again she caught that unfamiliar perfume. Her stomach churned, but she remained still. Tomorrow, she would have to make a choice. But tonight, she would play the role of the unsuspecting wife one more time. As William prepared for bed, chatting about mundane palace matters, Kate made her decision. She would confront him, but not yet. First, she needed to understand the full extent of his relationship with Sarah Henley. She needed evidence that even William couldn't explain away with smooth words and royal diplomacy. The game had changed. Kate was no longer just a betrayed wife. She was an investigator seeking the truth, and she would find it no matter how painful it might be. The future of her marriage, her family, and perhaps even the monarchy itself might depend on what she discovered next. Outside, London slept peacefully, unaware of the drama unfolding within the palace walls. But Kate lay awake, planning her next move, knowing that soon the truth would come to light. The only question was whether her marriage would survive the revelation 3 days after discovering Dr. Sarah Henley's identity. Kate's investigation had progressed beyond anything she had imagined. With Pippa's help, she had pieced together a timeline of William's meetings with Sarah. The truth was more complex than a simple affair, but in some ways, that made it worse. Kate had learned that Sarah was indeed evaluating the royal collection, but their meetings had evolved into something deeper. Sources at the private club revealed they often spent hours in deep conversation, discussing art, philosophy, and politics. William had apparently found in Sarah an intellectual equal who challenged him in ways Kate never had. The morning of confrontation arrived unexpectedly. Kate had planned to gather more evidence, but fate intervened. William had left his phone on the breakfast table while taking a call on another line. When it buzzed with a message, Kate glanced at it automatically. The preview showed Sarah's name and the words, "Can't wait to see you tonight." Same place as. Kate's hand trembled as she picked up the phone. She knew his passcode. They had always shared everything. Or so she thought. Her finger hovered over the screen for a moment before she set it down. She didn't need to read more. She had enough. When William returned, she was standing by the window, her back straight, hands clasped in front of her. Years of royal training had taught her how to maintain composure in any situation. "We need to talk," she said without turning around. "Kate, what's wrong?" She turned to face him, and something in her expression made him stop mid-step. "I know about Sarah Henley." The color drained from William's face. For the first time since she'd known him, he looked completely unprepared. "Kate, I can explain. Can you?" She walked to the desk and pulled out the envelope of photographs. "Can you explain these? Can you explain the lies, the secret meetings, the perfume I smell on you when you come home late?" William stared at the photographs spread across the desk. His shoulders sagged, and suddenly he looked older than his years. How long have you known? Does it matter? The question is, how long has this been going on? He sank into a chair, running his hands through his hair. It's not what you think. Then, tell me what it is, William. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like my husband has been having an affair. I haven't slept with her. The words came out rushed, desperate. I swear to you, Kate. We haven't. But you wanted to. It wasn't a question. William's silence was answer enough. Kate felt her legs shaking and sat down across from him. Tell me everything. You owe me that much. And so he did. The words poured out of him like a dam breaking. He told her about feeling trapped in his predetermined life, about the weight of future kingship, about finding in Sarah someone who saw him as just William, not the prince. He spoke of intellectual conversations that lasted hours, of sharing thoughts he'd never voiced to anyone, of feeling understood in a way he hadn't experienced before. I never meant for it to happen, he said, his voice breaking. She was just supposed to evaluate the paintings. But we started talking, and Kate, I've been drowning for years, and I didn't even realize it until she made me feel like I could breathe again. Each word was a knife to Kate's heart, but she forced herself to listen. And what about me? What about our children? Our life together? I love you, William said urgently. I've never stopped loving you. That's why nothing physical happened. I couldn't betray you that way. But you did betray me, William. Every lie, every secret meeting, every moment you spent with her thinking thoughts you should have shared with me. That was betrayal. William's eyes filled with tears. I know. God, Kate, I know. I've been trying to end it, to step back, but you can't. Kate's voice was steady despite her own tears. Because you're in love with her. The silence that followed confirmed what they both knew. William buried his face in his hands. I don't know what to do. I have my duty, my family, everything I've been raised to protect. But I also have these feelings I can't control. Kate stood up, wrapping her arms around herself. I need you to leave. Kate, not forever. I need space to think. Go to Highgrove. Tell the staff you need to review estate matters. Give me a few days. William stood, looking lost. What about the children? I'll tell them you're on a business trip. They're used to that. The bitterness in her voice made him flinch. As he moved toward the door, Kate called out, William. He turned, hope flickering in his eyes. Are you still seeing her? We have one more meeting scheduled to review her final report on the collection. Cancel it. Kate, cancel it, or don't bother coming back from Highgrove. He nodded slowly. I'll cancel it. After he left, Kate collapsed onto the sofa, finally allowing herself to cry. Pippa found her there an hour later and held her as she sobbed out the whole story. What are you going to do? Pippa asked gently. I don't know, Kate admitted. If this gets out, the scandal would be devastating. The press would have a field day. Future king in love triangle. The monarchy might not survive it. Forget the monarchy for a moment. What about you? What do you want? Kate wiped her eyes, considering the question. I want my husband back. The William who fell in love with me, who made me laugh, who was my best friend before he was my prince. But I don't know if that person still exists, or if the crown has crushed him completely. Over the next 3 days, Kate threw herself into her royal duties, maintaining a perfect public facade while her private world crumbled. She attended a children's hospital opening, a state dinner, and 2 charity events, smiling for cameras while her heart broke repeatedly. On the 4th day, William returned. He looked haggard, as if he hadn't slept. They met in the same study where it had all begun. I've ended it, he said without preamble. I've told Sarah that her services are no longer required. I've deleted her number, blocked her emails. It's over. Kate studied his face. Can you honestly tell me you don't love her? William's jaw tightened. What I feel doesn't matter. My duty is to you, to our family, to the crown. I choose that. I choose us. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I can give you. They stood facing each other, 2 people who had once shared everything, now separated by an ocean of unspoken truths. I don't know if I can do this, Kate said finally. Pretend everything is fine when I know you're thinking of her. Wonder every time you're late if you've changed your mind. Live with the ghost of her between us. Then, tell me what to do, William pleaded. Tell me how to fix this. I don't know if you can. Trust once broken. She trailed off, then straightened her spine. But I'm willing to try. For our children, for the institution we serve, but mostly because despite everything, I still love you. God help me, but I do. Kate, but there are conditions. We see a counselor, discreet, of course. You give me full access to your schedule, your phone, everything. No more private meetings without me knowing. And if I ever find out you've contacted her again, you won't, Williams said firmly. I swear to you, Kate. I know I've lost your trust, but I will earn it back. However long it takes. Kate nodded slowly. Then we move forward. But, William, understand this, you get one chance. One. The next time, there won't be a conversation. There will just be lawyers. 6 months later, the press would run glowing articles about how strong the royal marriage appeared, how dedicated William and Kate were to each other and their duties. They would comment on the renewed affection between them at public events, the way they seemed more connected than ever. What the press didn't see were the therapy sessions, the difficult conversations late into the night, the slow rebuilding of trust. They didn't see Kate's moments of doubt or William's struggle with his feelings. They didn't see the work, painful and necessary, of two people trying to save a marriage that had come closer to ending than anyone would ever know. Dr. Sarah Henley quietly left London, taking a position at a university in Italy. The photographs Kate had found were destroyed, burned in the fireplace one winter evening as William and Kate watched them turn to ash, a symbolic end to a chapter neither wanted to revisit. Their marriage survived, scarred but stronger in some ways. They had faced the worst and chosen each other, not out of duty or obligation, but out of love that had been tested and found resilient enough to endure. But sometimes, on quiet evenings when William stared too long out the window, Kate wondered if he was thinking of her. And sometimes, when Kate looked at her husband, she saw not just the man she married, but the man who had almost left. The secret they now shared bound them together as much as their love, the knowledge of how close they had come to losing everything, and the price they both paid to keep it.